If you're a fan of the Indian football team, it's safe to say that you would have found yourselves largely disappointed by how it is the team did in the AFC Asian Cup. Why? Well, because despite the fact that they were in a very tough group and the draw was not kind to them at all, let me make that very, very clear, you still expected to see a little bit more from the sides when they were losing to the likes of Australia and Uzbekistan. So it has been disheartening in some ways because, of course, you were coming off that high where you were winning trophies, you were winning the Intercontinental Cup, the SAF Cup, you were winning these tournaments and actually showing some kind of progress where you were playing better football than a lot of the teams that were there. Unfortunately, what it does also show you is that there's a gulf to the best teams in Asia that India still need to kind of make up, and it's a work in progress. It's always going to be that way. But India will now be approaching their final group game in the AFC Asian Cup of 2023 against Syria, playing essentially for pride. Or will they? Well, believe it or not, there is still an outside chance that the team could qualify for the knockout stages if things really go their way. And when I say they really go their way, well, then I mean exactly that. But we'll get to that reason in just a bit. It's important for us to look back at and see how exactly it is the campaign has gone up until this point, because it's fair to say it's not gone to any sort of plan whatsoever. You were expecting a loss to Australia, so that was fine. You took the 2-0 loss. You were heartened by the kind of performance you put in, and that was fair enough. Uzbekistan loss, however, definitely a little less heartening because, again, you lost 3-0, which took your goal difference down significantly. And not just that, you were losing more often than not to individual errors. It wasn't like Uzbekistan were blowing you out of the water or anything of the sort. No, they were using very basic footballing, let's say, drills. And of course, the tactics that they were using were fairly normal, direct tactics, but you were getting undone by even that. So that doesn't make for a good looking. And in fact, because of that, because you've tried to more often than not try to be that defensively solid, not look to attack, you've not had defensive solidity. You've only gone and conceded 5 goals. But to make things worse, you've not scored a single goal throughout the tournament. So your current goal difference sits at -5 because whilst you've conceded 5 goals, you haven't been able to score a single one. And it's been far from an ideal tournament, whichever way you look at it. I mean, yes, you were expecting that you might not be in with a chance to qualify for the knockouts because, again, as I said, it's a very tough draw and you had the first 2 tough matches early on. Australia, arguably the toughest of the lot. Uzbekistan, definitely the next toughest. And you had those and you knew pretty much at that point that any hopes you had were dead in the water. But you also expected more in the way of performance and you didn't unfortunately get that. More often than not, your best attacking figure in Sunil Chhetri has been left feeding not off scraps, but of the scraps of scraps. He's getting next to nothing going forward. And it's any wonder really that he hasn't looked anything close to his best self in the tournament? Not at all. India haven't been looking to attack and therefore their best attacker has suffered as a result. Yet, that being said, believe it or not, the format of the AFC Asian Cup is such that India can still qualify for the tournament. How so? Well, let's take a look at that, shall we? Now, mathematically, they are still alive in the tournament because if you're looking at it purely from a sporting perspective, India's chances are done, dusted, finito, tata, bye-bye, whichever term you want to use. It's all good. They do, however, have a chance of qualifying if they can get a very big win against Syria. Why do I say a very big win against Syria? Because again, there is history where teams have made it into the knockouts in the current format, having gotten 3 points in the group stages. How exactly? Well, the thing is that 3 points might not seem like a lot, but it can be just enough. And when I say just enough, I really mean that because in the 2019 edition of the AFC Asian Cup, you had a Vietnam who made it through to the knockouts as the 4th best third place team. That means you have 4 teams who have finished third from the 6 groups who can make it. They were the worst of that lot. And they had 3 points, and not just that, they had a goal difference of -1. So they had a negative goal difference. They had only one win, but they still made it through. So it is, in fact, technically very much a possibility that you can make it through in that regard. So it is possible. As I said, mathematically, India still have a chance. Is it practically possible? Probably not. Syria are no pushovers, and despite the fact that they haven't really been lighting it up as far as, the international stage has gone. Of course, you have to remember it's very much a war-torn country as well. Syria actually came very, very close to qualifying for the 2022 edition of the FIFA World Cup, which shows that they're eons ahead of where India should be at this point, or where India definitely are. Syria were 1 or 2 wins away from actually playing in Qatar 2022, and the fact that they didn't make it was because they lost in the continental playoff final. So unfortunate there, but this Syria side definitely not one of the stronger ones that India are facing. So there is some hope that you might be able to get a win. Can they get a big enough win to potentially, push for a spot in the round of 16? I doubt. But I'd like to see something more. I'd like to see some attacking endeavor, some enterprise from the team. Maybe go out there and get a goal. Who knows? You might still end up losing 2-1, but at least it'll lose in a fun way rather than playing dour, boring, negative football and then potentially not actually, enjoying the match and then being subjected to a defeat anyway. And who knows, sometimes when you go all out, you do actually give yourself the best chance of winning, especially when you are the underdog. So I'd like to see that from the Indian team. Never mind a win or a hopeful win where they can win by 4-0, 5-0, potentially overturn the goal deficit. I don't want that. Give me a hard-fought 1-1 or a hard-fought 2-1 loss or a hard-fought 1-0. I'll take even that. I'll take anything as long as you're showing enterprise, showing progress. That is the most important thing for Indian football right now. But if you can actually get in with a little bit of hope, why not? I'd certainly enjoy that, and I know you guys would too. But what are your predictions for the game tomorrow? Well, you can let us know that in the comments below, and don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel and tap that bell icon as well. Also go ahead, follow us. We're on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Last but not least, don't forget to download the AajTak app, and if you're already on the channel, well, then go ahead and check out some other videos we have done as well. For now, from my side though, it is goodbye.